Welcome back to Crafting a Meaningful Life. Do I have a guest for you today? I know I say that all the time, but this time, it's really real. Okay, this is like the most amazing guest. And prior to coming on the podcast, we were talking, and I said, well, so tell me where you're from. And she said, the Czech Republic, it's built upon this grid of stones. Do you know anything about stones? And I said, a bit. And she said, well, do you know anything about Moldavite? And I held up my bracelet. I'm like this, and my ring like this. And here we are, just finding so many things that we are connecting with. So many times on this podcast, we've talked about intuition, and that, believe it or not, is her specialty. It's called an intuologist, I guess. But she's an educator, a spiritual guide, has her PhD, and is here today giving her time to me and my listeners to step into this wonderful world of knowledge, inspiration, and intuition. Lenka Schulze, welcome onto the show.
Thank you, Mary. Like we were talking earlier, we waiting so long to get here today, and we finally here. And my favorite day, which is 13th, and it's a number of the feminine energy.
Yes, absolutely, yes. It is.
Yes.
Yes. Every time you open your mouth, I think, oh, we could talk about that. Oh no, we could talk about this. But there's so many things that I want you to talk about. When I first found out about you and that there was such a thing, am I saying that right, an intuologist?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the definition of an intuologist?
Intuologist is a person who loves intuition, studies intuitions, and educates about intuition.
Wow. Okay. I like that. I love that. Because to be honest with you, I talk a lot about intuition, but I've never studied it outside of myself, outside of my brain, that I sit, meditate, try to understand what's going on as I receive things, when I make things up, and what is what. But to talk to someone who actually has studied this for so long, I'm just thrilled to have you on today. All right, so tell me a little bit about your background and what led you to be an intuologist.
Very good question. So I came from back then Czechoslovakia, and it was a time of communists. So I was gifted with an empty vessel, which means I was not subjected to religion because it was illegal, right, to practice religion.
Yeah.
So if you don't have something that is kind of put on you as a belief system, and I call it the BS, you create your own. You are becoming the empty vessel. And so just because I was always a curious child and wanting to know things, especially kind of like the unknown, it was a very natural for me to expand to these questions into these realms, if you want to talk. But I really didn't know what I was doing. As a kid, you just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
And because we didn't had religion, then it's a natural quest of what's out there. And what was out there was the healers, it was the tarot readers, it was the fortune tellers, things like that. And I was just always kind of excited about that. Intuition was not something that was in my mind, like, oh, I want to learn about intuition. It was that guiding light that is kind of guiding you. Like, for example, when I was 12, I said, I will never stay in this country. I'll go somewhere else. And everybody was laughing because during communism, you couldn't leave.
Right.
My grandma's house was half in Poland and you need a visa to go to Poland. So me saying it like I won't live there, they'd be laughing like, yeah, okay. They called me Alice of Wonderland. Okay, she's here, she talking about. But here I am. So somehow I knew something from my soul that wanted to experience in the future, but that's kind of how to play it out. And when I came to America, that was a big shock to my system because you have on a dollar bill, the God we trust, the President of the United States saying we the God we trust, and God bless America. That's what I want to say. God bless America. So it's very confusing for a person who's coming from a completely different belief system into a country, evolved country, and your whole world is just like shaken up. Like, okay, so what's going on here? And of course, again, because I'm curious, I start delving into this, and I saw that there's just so many people who blindly, completely not even understanding that intuition, they believe that intuition is something to be scared of. There is something evil about it. That to me was like, okay. So again, there were so many questions for me, and that was my journey as of today. Like, I'm still on my journey to trying to figure it out. But what I learned about intuition is it's not a quest of intellect. It really isn't. It's the quest of knowing.
Yeah.
The minute you're trying to figure it out, you are not practicing or being intuitive.
There are those right-brained people and those left-brained people, and one doesn't trust the other oftentimes. But when we can learn to work both hemispheres of our brain, then we get the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
In my walk and in my social area that I live, there are many people who are afraid of intuition. Mm-hmm. And they think it's the opposite of what we should be doing. That intuition is just relying on our own wisdom and not relying on the spirit of God and letting God tell us what to do. Mm-hmm. And that never quite sat right with me. I just always felt like I wouldn't be sent here blindly. I had to have things inside of me that I could rely on, kind of to turn to my soul. You have some interesting ideas on what a soul is and how we come to connect with our souls.
Mm-hmm. Well, earlier we were talking about purpose. So a lot of people go in with the purpose and legacy, and they kind of go in with that human aspect of our existence, but they're forgetting that the human aspect has nothing to do with the soul necessarily. The soul has completely different agendas. So you think that, having this career and the many followers and traveling the world and whatever your accomplishments are, that's the purpose. It really isn't. The purpose is inside. And I feel like we live in like a double lives, where we have one foot here and one foot there. And in order for us to find that peace is to harmonize these two things, where the soul eventually have the ability to fully express the personality. Yes. So the personality, because I believe that as we journey through many lifetimes, our personality, that it's not that whole you are not nice or not nice. That's not what I'm talking about. It's kind of that whole, you're very sensitive and you are the take-carers, or you are the go-getter and then the initiator and things. So those really deep ingrained things that you cannot ignore. Those are the traits of the soul, right? And so that carries from one lifetime to another. So it's like I'm sometimes wouldn't it be nice if I could be a little bit of Mother Teresa? I mean, like, no, you can be, because you're not Mother Teresa. It's like we like certain traits from other people. And we want to I like to be like that. But Tinkerbell actually has a show, like the whole 1 hour about she wanted different talents from these other fairies. And in the end, she realized she can have other talents because she already been born with the one she has, and that's what she's supposed to be doing. So if we realize that it's already within us, we just have to kind of uncover. And I was watching you yesterday on YouTube, and you said something really beautiful. You said, the things we hide is the magnet for others, right? So
exactly.
Once you open up the closet with the skeletons, then the skeletons are the gifts.
Yes. That is Yeah, my listeners know all about my thought process on that for sure.
Yes, and I kind of really, I'm like, yeah, she's right, because so many things I have been hidden, especially about intuition. Now, we talked about I started with food and I thought, oh, I'm going to be just doing food for a living, and then the soul was like, no, you're doing something else. But it was just so much more safe because I didn't have to be out of the box. I didn't have to explain exactly what I'm doing because it was very self-explainable. You make food. Okay, great. It's very simple, but no, my soul decided to be very complicated because the world that I work in doesn't have necessarily logic. It doesn't have a vocabulary to satisfy your intellect. It just has the world of feelings and sensations and visions, and depends how you are wired. And it's very hard to explain to people that world is so much more exciting, actually. Because once you tap into it, and then you can bring it down through your personality. So it's just like if you have these high voltage values or like kindness or compassion or joy, right? Those are very high vibrational elemental feelings or archetypes. And when you tap into it and you in your meditation, like, oh my gosh, that feels so good, I want to bring it down to earth. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, where we can align the personality with the soul and we become kind, compassion, joyous, and all these beautiful things that is in that subtle world. It always has been there, but for the 2000 years, we were putzing around in anger and jealousy and envy and depression and all these other things. And we constantly inviting them over. We constantly opening doors, and we don't like them. Get them out. Invite the other ones. But that takes a lot of conscious programming, reprogramming of the things that we have been doing so automatically for so long.
And I think that is one of the things that we've seen in society, is that there's this mantra out there that joy and happiness and love, connection, oneness, those things are found. You get to have those when you get the other things. That the other things are the pathway to those things. And so I first have to be an overachiever, and I first have to graduate college. And then the next thing on my list is I have to have a great career, and I have to have 1 million followers on social media. That's a mandatory thing for me next. And then I have to make a certain amount of money, and that will lead me to this connection. One of the things I think is very interesting about both of us is that we both started our lives in the world of food.
Yeah.
And I loved every day I worked in food. I really did, until I didn't. Right? And then what's next? And I realized that one of the things I loved, Lenka, about food was it allowed me a connection to others. I would make food for you and I would serve you, and you would have the best time at your party. And I loved that. Yeah. It in reality had nothing to do with food. It was a great means for me, and I loved it. But then I began to realize I don't need that piece anymore. I mean, I can step away and retire from that career and still be focused on connection, oneness, kindness, joy. So I have some thoughts on my purpose. I'd like to know how you guide people to finding their soul's purpose. Because I think every single person I've ever talked to, I was at a women's gathering last night even, and there's this thing around the room about, I'm not quite sure what I'm to do. And I can't wait for it to get to my turn, because, well, it's not about what you do.
Before I answer that, I'll go back into your world of food. And what I also love about food is the connection to the divine intelligence, because all the food comes from God, right? If it's the apple or the rosemary or the chicken, and that is a vibrational frequency of something. So creation is a vibration of frequency of love. So when you're working with food, you're really working with creation of love, of the creation of God. So unfortunately in this country, for the last 50, 70 years, it's going downhill, and finding that pure creation coming out of your backyard is much harder. And I was blessed with my upbringing, with my aunt having the pig, and then, we had the apples and so on and so forth. So I was really living organic life, not even realizing that, being connected with that food. So I feel the food is not just nutritious part of our human existence. I feel it's the connection to the divine intelligence. And if we are tapping into that divine intelligence, that is a one element of intuition, because if we are around that divine intelligence of food, we automatically, without even thinking, we're going to be drawn to certain food for certain reason. Just watch children. They will be chewing on some kind of animals. They will be chewing on some kind of a grass or whatever. It's because they need that part of that nutrients, right?
Right.
So we are so disconnected, unfortunately, from that. But I feel that that's part of why we are drawn to something. We are drawn to the creative aspect of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 71, so I was born in 1953 and watched my mother, and I didn't understand it until I began to put it through my process brain later, that I watched her growing up. And every day of the week, she had something. Monday was laundry day. Tuesday was ironing day. Everything had to be ironed, And then Wednesday was this day, and this was this day. And in the middle of that, of course, she's cooking 3 meals a day and taking care of the half acre of garden. And then, Mary walked down and get the eggs from Aunt Neva, and then go out there. And then, Uncle Lloyd's going to have some cream for you. And, and I look, her entire existence was providing food for her family. So when convenience foods started to come along, it was like a godsend to her. There's a TV dinner. I just have to put it in the oven. There's soup and it's in a can. There's milk and it's in a carton. And she was the generation that just ran faster than you can imagine from that connection to the earth, even though she had been so connected, away from it, because that gave her more time to do something else, to live. And so I started off in that realm of just convenience food and shopping in the middle of the store, or fast food. And then when you finally get in touch with your soul, you realize a piece is missing. And I think that stepping into what is my soul in want of? What do I want for my soul? Yeah.
So going to that question and now answering, how do you know what your purpose is? I wish that we had a manual when we came to Earth, but we kind of do. Unfortunately, we are being raised with very busy parents and it's just a society. But if we look in a more cultures that are still very hands-on, they know exactly what this child came here to do, because they just pay attention. Sometimes it's their intuition as the mom and the dad and the grandparents. They already know what is in it just intuitively. But if they don't, they watch that child, because the first 3-4 years of your life, you are in the soul essence. You don't have your personality baked yet. So as long as the parents step out and just let you be without giving you answers, like this is a cup, this is a light, this is this and that, just let the kid tell you what it is. It's a vibrational frequency of a blue, blah, 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 and it will probably come up with some crazy answers and it's going to blow your mind. But we pretend to be so much smarter than our children, then we tell them. So then you tell them what to do, right? But if we really just play around and let the child be, and you watch, is like, for example, I remember my brother, he was notorious of taking things apart, notorious. And he still does that. So he was the tinker, he was literally one of those, he wanted to know how things work. And it would be radio or whatever. So my mom would have to hide it. Or somebody would be in the kitchen cooking or whatever this is, or gathering things, So it's just, or helping, like constantly. So you could see where the traits are. So when I have clients, I ask, if your parents are still around, can you ask them how you were when you were little, before you went to preschool? And they will be some answers, but majority of them don't. So they've been already programmed so deeply. So that is very sad. So if they don't remember, then it would be one of those, if you can do anything in the world, you will have all the time. What book would you pick from the library? What movie would you watch? Where would you go? What are you wearing? What are you watching? What's around you? What decor is around? What plant? Like, everything will give you some kind of symbolism, because we on a soul level, the intuitive ways, we don't work with words, we work with symbols. So everything is symbol. So you will see, like, if you sit and watch around your house, you will be like, oh yeah, for example, everything Egyptian, like you would have, certain things from that era. You would love those movies. You would be drawn to those kind of costumes in Halloween or whatever, and look through your time frame. When did you been around it? So that's kind of, or on vacation, you go to the Mediterranean and you're like, oh, I could live here. Well, probably because you've been there many lifetimes. So that's probably something that is in you. And so that would be a good hint. And then the other question would be, if you could do something and you would do it, no matter what, for money or no money, what would that be? So some people just like to support others, literally be in the background and not being seen or heard, but have a joy of helping others. And so it looks like, oh, your life, that's your purpose. Some people could judge that. But supporters are even in nature. And, if you watch all animals, not everyone is a lion,
I happen to be a Leo. I happen to be a lion, but surprise.
So if we see nature, we could see also ourselves. There's nothing wrong. And yes, a lot of people say, well, there's a karma and this and that. And, I can't answer to that because I don't have the answers to it, and you don't either. Nobody really does. If they say they do, they're not telling the truth. They have their own truth, but they can't claim it as a truth. So there's just so many areas, multidimensional existence out there with so many different answers, and every answer is correct on that level of consciousness, on that level of question.
So as you personally have walked through this process, Lenka, what have you come to is your soul's purpose?
My soul, I believe that I came here to reawaken that intuition in others through heart-based communications. And this is not easy, just like we spoke before. People have intellectual questions, and I can feel that. That's not going to do anything. But if you have those deep desires, and if we do that for one another, we really do become transmutational agents for one another. So we all hold the keys to one another's evolution. So
I love that. Will you say that again? That's really profound. That I want everyone to hear that again. Listen up.
So we are keys for one another to open the process of evolution.
Yeah.
And sometimes you walk into somebody's presence and they not open, but what I see on an intuitive level is it's open somewhere here, like somewhere here. It didn't open up here yet. So it's like it will open up. It's already is waiting. So that seed is already planted. That scratch on the door is already there. but you're not there yet, right? And some people you just meet and you're like, yep, right there, and we just open
like the two of us when we came in.
Yes, and you know, like, yeah, oh my gosh, we both leave and we feel fulfilled. We
Yes.
feel both our buckets are full to give others, and that's kind of where you already know. But even the difficult interactions are exactly that. But there's a difference between constantly knocking on somebody's door and forcing them to be open. That's not the point. But what also is fascinating is we get opened up also by different areas in the world. So for example, you were drawn to Kilimanjaro. You thought that the whole process is, oh, I have to climb over there. But I don't think so. I think on the soul level, there has been something in the land that opens you up on a deeper level that you have digested or digesting still today. And sometimes the information on us, that's a soul information. It's not this information. Is so profound that it takes years to digest. And so it's almost like that Kilimanjaro gave you so much, and it's going to take you 5-10 years to step into that greatness that you have been privileged to be experiencing. So some people thinking, oh, I have to do this because no. Your soul wanted something from that aspect of the energies.
Yeah, it's been 5 years since I summited, and I still am learning things. Things come to me like, that's how it was. I really sat down, and I think that we have the opportunity to learn so much from just how our life is the greatest teacher. But we have to take time to ponder it.
Yeah.
What was the lesson here for me, and what did I learn? How did I grow? What could have been my purpose to doing this? How do you think people know if they're living in their soul's purpose or if they're not?
It's very simple.
Oh, okay. I like it if it's simple. Okay, give it.
Your body will tell you. Your body is a divination tool. That's it. So and this is the thing, that body, the body is like, obviously we are what now, 90% of water. It's pretty high. So your body will tell you exactly how you're feeling in each moment, in each areas of your time. So if you are in this particular, okay, so I give you an example that I think I wrote it in my book too, is that, there's a lady who is in a relationship and she has all these aches and pains and every disease you can imagine. I mean, it is not a good existence. And then she steps into a arena with her grandchildren, and all her aches and pains are gone. But she doesn't know that. She doesn't know that because she doesn't put any attention into that moment because she's so into the moment. So, but when you recognize it, if somebody else recognizes, how do you feel in certain time of your life? In the morning when you have to make the emails, returns, or doing the dishes, or making a meal, or having a wonderful conversation about your soul journey. So it's like, how do you feel? Lighter, excited, energized. So those are the signs for your soul purpose. Yeah. And then people say, well, I still need to do dishes. It's true, but then you have to look at the dishes as part of the soul journey that needs to be done. So it's that, you see, so it's like we have to just look at it as a perspective. So it doesn't mean that your dishes will be your purpose. It isn't. But when you effortlessly live pain-free life, and this is very difficult to say now because there's so much suffering and pain.
Yeah.
And people think pain comes with age. I disagree. That's not my truth. Maybe that is somebody else's, but it will not be mine ever. But again, if we believe in that BS, then it will become our BS, our belief system. So we can always create new realities, and we can start saying, like, I choose a pain-free life. And it is possible because the Creator made me that way. I do not believe the Creator made me faulty of dis-ease and pain. But it is sometimes, like you said, the journey, because we lost our soul compass, and the soul will guide you into that existence.
So there are times, and this is kind of a double-edged sword, so walk me through your thoughts on this, that yes, our life is about joy, and our life gets to be joyous, and it also gets to be easy. It does not have to be hard to be joyous. But then you have those people who will say, for example, point to all the fires in California and say they just were decimated. They don't have joy. How do you put that into part of their purpose? Were they destined to have to go through that? Were you destined to have to live in the slums of India to know the contrast, to know joy? How do you walk through that, Lenka?
Well, let's just start with the vibrational frequency of joy. It is one of the highest vibrational frequencies, right?
Right.
So joy is not something that you can live in day out every moment, because it is such a high vibration. You wouldn't even be here. I would be like, where are you, Mary?
We'd be gone, yeah.
Okay, so the minute you think you enjoy, you're already out of it. That's how fleeting it is. So it's one of those moments when you see the butterfly, oh, butterfly, and it's gone. That's how fast the joy comes and goes. So holding on to that as long as possible reprograms your brain into that neuroplasticity, right? Into that whole, I want to hold on to that wonder, into that joy a little bit longer, walking and see the, like we here in Florida, we have dolphins, right? Same thing. It's a very high vibrational frequency. And so again, it's just like, how fast is this? 1 second. So this is the reality. However, when someone is experiencing suffering, I believe that it's like an alphabet. We have all letters, and we have to speak it all fluently, right? And so sometimes we are experiencing suffering. Why? I have no idea. I'm not even going to pretend I know. That there's so many theories and BS belief systems out there, but I also believe that they are created almost like a crutches, almost like a wheelchairs for our existence, because it feels good if I tell you it's your soul journey. It feels good if I tell you it's a past life karma. I have no idea. I really don't. But I also know we are resilient beings. We are here for one another. And, if somebody has a moment of suffering, there's millions of people who can help. If you choose to, again, if I knock on the door, will you open? Will you allow us to help you and change and so on and so forth? So I don't believe every single person had joy in their life every single moment. That I don't believe in that. We all going through suffering in one point in time, me included, you included. And sometimes it's visible, sometimes it doesn't. If we wouldn't have the internet, we wouldn't even know about the crisis that's going on around the world.
Right. You'd read it in the newspaper next week. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So I know that my answer is probably not what you were looking for, but I'm not going to pretend I know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that page, that I think sometimes it's futile to give out the answer of why people suffer. Yeah. Can I just say how long I pondered that question? I really felt I could find the answer to this. And then I was going to be at peace, and I could get everyone else to be at peace. It was part of my meditations for probably 2 or 3 years. Why do people suffer? What is the purpose of suffering? And finally, Lenka, I let it go. Because the pursuit of that was not moving my personal needle anywhere. It was just allowing me to spiral and spiral and spiral. And so the greater purpose for me was just to focus on my life and the moments that brought me joy being my purpose. And then I want to know this from you, like how you know when you're in your purpose. But For me, when I know I'm in my true purpose, I turn outward. I've turned inward to get to know me and to find my purpose, and turned inward to learn how to master those things and to be my best self. And when I am there, then I begin this process of turning outward. I want everyone to be there. And you begin the gathering and the sharing and the giving and the receiving. And you know you're not there if you want to keep it all for yourself. You know that's not the place. And that's where you have come to one of your greatest purposes, is to share this knowledge you have with others, to allow them to step in to their soul's purpose.
Yes, it's very beautifully said. And I'm going to just kind of concur on that, is that when you are trying to think, because that's really what it is, think about something, that you only staying in that realm of the mind. That's not where intuition lies. And honestly, again, if you find some kind of answer, is it going to change anything about what you're doing? No, absolutely nothing. And that BS probably will change once your consciousness changes. And yeah, so there will be another answer. It's like literally like every questions will have another answer. It's just the level of consciousness. And when you talking about going inward and then going outward, it is the metaphysics. It really is like that, where when you harness something within you, it's not just in you, it vibrates around you, right? So it's in your aura. So your likes, dislikes, your fears, your knowledge, your wisdom, your gifts, and all the things that you encompassed in your life is right here. And that's what I was talking about, the keys. There are many keys. It's almost like if somebody comes into Mary's aura, there's so many keys that they just kind of energetically, it is done on a soul level. It is not done on a personality level. They will be drawn to that. They'll take it and vice versa. So it's not even we have to say anything anymore, because the world, I believe that the wisdom is wordless, really. The more you're trying to talk, the more you're losing the essence of the truth. So it's just like, if somebody can see you, but really see you, that's all they need. Because then they almost like a copy and paste you, whatever they like, to their aura. So we are one another's blueprints, right? So we have our blueprint, and we kind of like changing the rooms around how we like it, because somebody has something else that we like and we want to enhance. I really feel that's the evolution. It really is. We cannot go there by ourselves. It's all for one and one for all. Like, we really are not going to the next level with all our brothers and sisters. We really can. So like you said, if you harbor it inside, that's going to just implode in you. You're going to get sick, and you're not going to get any more, because that's just how it works.
People say to me, what is your vision for this life? And truly, truly, Lenka, my vision is that of oneness, not sameness. That's no one's after sameness. The last thing we need is a planet full of Marys. No, we would not.
Yes.
Not sameness, but oneness, that we are truly connected and we're moving together. And sometimes the world seems so far apart on that I was with a person the other night, and they said, it's getting so bad in the world and so evil. And then I said, yes, we do see that, but the equal amount of goodness and joy and love and oneness is on this side growing. And Absolutely. They came back to me and said, no, that's not accurate. It's only growing on this side. Yeah. And my purpose was not to engage in him in it was a social evening. Yeah. But I thought, I'm glad I live in this belief.
Yes.
That as much as this we see of evil and I don't even like that word, but of things that are hard on us, we see this loving piece here growing. And if you're not seeing that, perhaps it may be you're looking in the wrong places.
I 100% agree with you, and I feel that metaphysically it is exactly always the exact opposite. So as much darkness is out there, the same amount of light, right? And the word evil, I speak about it in my book, because if you look at the evil, I was also very kind of like, oh, I don't like that word, but I love words, so I looked it up. And if you read it backwards, that means it's something not alive. So whatever is not alive is evil. So let's just say the box of Cheerios is evil. It's not alive. Apple is alive. See, like if we start looking at it that way.
Brilliant. I love that.
Yes. And so when we see that, oh, that's evil, that's not. And then we see what's living and what's not. And we are all living beings. And we want to make sure that we are not evil, which means not alive, right? So we want to feel alive, because when we don't have the life, then we have the destruction. So that's kind of what I see it as, that, you know, if something is evil, it's also being very destructive. Like a box of Cheerios does not have the same amount of vibration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. It's dead.
Yeah,
it's dead. It doesn't have any life frequency in it.
And in your example of thinking about holding a handful of Cheerios versus holding an apple, and if you just think about that for a minute in your mind, it's like you just want to drop those Cheerios and hold this apple to your heart. Yeah. Okay, our time is up, but I have one. I need another couple minutes, because I have one thing I really want to ask. I think as I was talking to a friend of mine about having you on at this women's gathering I was at last night, and I was talking about you because they were all pretty awake women, and she said, "Will you ask one question?" And I said, "Okay, I will." So I have to ask this question. I get to ask this question. How do I discern truth? When someone's speaking to me, I'm talking in a direct conversation, or something I hear on social media, or someone's trying to sell me something, or how do I discern truth from deception? And can we use our intuition for that?
Mm-hmm. This deception is really hard, because the lies are easy. Lies are easy because they just lies. They have stories, you can feel them easy. Truth is also very easy because it's very transparent, it's very light. You could see right through it. The lies are heavy and dense, but the deception is both. So what that means is, if you're talking to someone, they will have some truth and some lies, some truth and some lies. So let's just say the politicians, they will have an agenda. There's 30% truth, 30% lies, something between. And so it's like the filibusters, right? So there's a good law being passed, but filibusters in it. So that's the evil, right? That's the lies with the truth. And then they package it up, and that's called discernment. So it's kind of tricky.
I'll tell you, I don't think I've ever thought of it like that, but that's like spot on.
Yeah, so I think if we want to become a little bit more aware of discernment or the deception, is to sense it. So when somebody says something, you feel an ease, and then something comes, and then you go like, and then, so it is about the vibrational frequency. Okay. For me, at least.
Yeah.
So you can feel it. And if they have a lie in it, don't package it up like, oh, they bad people, because I think that, we don't even realize statements, anything from food to doctors to cosmetic, they all full of deception. They mean well, but then they take something in it, and then they tell you it is organic, but it went through a process that took something so organic, and they took something out of it. They call it organic, but then they call it the truth. It isn't. It's already a deception. So especially in that, I find it so fascinating in that cosmetic industry.
Yes.
How educated people, can tell you, oh, this is organic. Look, it has everything from nature. Yes, but you took that one part out that become potentially toxic if you take it. So they took the truth and make it deceptive. So answer to that question is not that simple, but I feel that where we're heading, we will have a different kinds of currency, and the currency will be transparency and integrity. And the truth, of course. So as long as you are having those three things, let's say they probably more, you going forward, rest of it staying behind. And it's up to us to discern that product, that politician, that teacher, that group. They are not lying, but they're not truthful either. They are deceptive. They do not know yet. And so I think also where we can help one another is if we lift the veil of duality, we could see the light. What does that mean? Well, the left brain and the right brain you talked about in a before. So in the middle, you have the third eye.
Yes.
So this is the uni. I always think about the unicorn, when the uni, he had the one vision. He was actually the symbol of the peace and love and
Yes.
joy and harmony. So we become back into the unicorns. Our minds will be uni. We will take these two sides and make it one, where we're not going to care about you are having a bad day or you dressing inappropriately, because we don't really going to care about the duality. Who makes the duality? The human mind. But the spiritual realms do not care. They don't care. So there is a truth in the human world. Let's say the conception of a child, right? There's a human truth to that. And then you have in a spirit world, no such a thing as a sex, because it's autonomous, right? So in the world of spirit, there's a different truth. But we can't take that truth in this realm and make it something it isn't. That's a deception. That is truth and lies together. Mm-hmm. So again, we have to know when we answer in the question, what is the question? What is the mind of the person? Where is it? Like, which realm is it? Because every answer will be correct. It depends on the question.
I'll tell you, that is eye-opening, third eye opening. When you said that deception is different than a lie. The weaving of the two together to deceive someone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is definitely not alive. That's the opposite. That's not good. But that process of thinking that and trying to discern that is pretty phenomenal. And the gift of being able to know that kind of intuition is inside of each of us, that's the gift that you are offering. The information, the knowledge, the gift of certainty that we all possess the intuition to know. We could talk for another hour, you know that, Lenka. My time is 10 minutes past, but that's okay. To all of my listeners, this being able to discern, the gift of intuition, to know your purpose, to know that you're walking in alignment with what you were meant to be. We have so many more things to talk about. She's probably going to be a guest again. But in the meantime, you can find out more on your own. You can spend time with Lenka by going to all the resources that we've put at the end of this podcast. There's links to her LinkedIn, to her social media, to her Spotify, to where she's doing talking. And I went on and listened to some and just walked away with so much knowledge just from spending an hour listening. And then she has 3 books, and we have the links to her Amazon books there. You can connect with her. You can just take advantage of her wisdom. And I think, Lenka, the gift that you have more than anything to offer someone, and this is just from me listening to you in your own words, it's the gift of peace. When I listen to you and your words, I just seem to be able to take a breath and to breathe and to say, I got this. And we're going to walk through this together. I am not alone. We are together. We're one. And that there are so many places to look for answers. And you have a chunk of them. So thank you for spending time with us today and to bringing us peace and the hope that we are all walking together.
Crafting a meaningful life.